Hello, students. Today is Monday, tomorrow is Tuesday, so I'm making a recording for both days. Um, so it's either Monday the 25th, I have a little typo there, or it's Tuesday the 26th, which would be an A day. Monday is a B day, but if you're in this group, group 1 for Monday and group 2 for Tuesday, we will review fraction operations. So remember, when you're finished, you want to take this paper and put it in your binder behind all of your other papers. So let's get started. And that's our Tuesday opening page. So as always, you are capable, and I know you can do this. So we're going to review fraction operations. We'll start with 6 addition and subtraction problems. We have 3 1/2 minus 4 2/5. First thing we need to do is turn them into improper fractions. Then we will find common denominators, and then after that, we will go ahead and subtract. So improper fractions first. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, so that's 7 over 2, minus 5 times 4 is 20, plus that numerator of 2, 22 over 5. So we need a least common multiple of 2 and 5. And if I look at the multiples of 5, I have 5, 10, and 10 is also a multiple of 2. So let's work with 10. So we have 7 over 2. We want to convert that to tenths. I know that 2 times 5 is 10, so therefore I will multiply 7 times 5 to get 35. And when I convert this 22 over 5 to tenths, I know that 5 times 2 is 10, so I will multiply 22 by 2 to get 44. Now, if you'll notice here, first of all, our answer will be in tenths until we simplify it further if need be. But we have a larger number, a greater number, being subtracted from a lesser number, so that means our answer will be negative. So 35 minus 44 is a negative 9/10. And that's our final answer. So I hope you try them yourself. You should pause the video, try it yourself, and then check your work with the video. So for number 2, we have 4 1/7. This time we're adding a negative 2 1/3. Adding a negative is the same as subtracting. So first we will find improper fractions. 7 times 4 is 28, plus that numerator of 1 is 29 over 7, plus a negative, which is the same as subtracting. 2 times 3 is 6, plus the numerator of 1 is 7 over 3. This time we need an LCM of 7 and 3. Multiples of 7 are 7, 14, and 21. And 21 is also a multiple of 3. So I will rewrite these fractions with a denominator of 21. So I know that 7 times 3 is 21, so I will multiply 29 times 3, which will give me 87, from which I will subtract, and I'm going to have, again, a denominator of 21. 3 times 7 is 21. 7 times 7 is 49. And when I subtract 49 over 21 from 87 over 21, I have 38 over 21. And when I divide 38 by 21, it goes in one time with 17 21st. Oops, that should be a 7. 17 21st left over. So my final answer is 1 and 17 over 21. And I can move on to number 3. So number 3, I have a negative 1 1/2, and I'm subtracting 2 4/7. So first I need to make improper fractions. 2 times 1 is 2, plus the numerator makes negative 3 over 2, or 3/2, minus 7 times 2 is 14, plus 4 more is 18 over 7. Now I need to find a least common multiple of 2 and 7. So let's look at the factors of 7. I have 7, 14, while 14 is also a multiple of 2. So we will go with 14 as our denominator. So to get from 2 to 14, I multiply by 7. So I will multiply that numerator of 3 by 7, which will give me negative 21 over 14. Remember, we're working with a negative here. Minus, and our new denominator of 14. I know that 7 times 2 is 14. 18 times 2 is 36. Now, I have two negative numbers here. I'm subtracting. I have a negative number, and then I'm subtracting. So I'm going to continue going left on the number line, if I think of it that way. So that means that I will simply add these numbers and keep the sign that's negative. 36 plus 21 is 57, and that's an improper fraction. So I will take that 57 and divide it by 14. I know that 14 times 4 is 56, and that will give me 1/14 left over. So my final answer, 4 and 1/14, and that is a negative. So let's go on to number 4. So it looks like we have 2 subtraction and 1 addition problems. So we have 3 and 4/5 minus 2 and 5/6. So let's first, we have to get those improper fractions. 5 times 3 is 15, plus that numerator 4 is 19 over 5, minus 6 times 2 is 12, plus that numerator 5 gives us 17 over 6. Now we need a least common multiple of 5 and 6. So the 6 times table is 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and I know that 30 is also a multiple of 5. So let's start converting. We're going to have a denominator of 30 in each one of these fractions. I know that 5 times 6 is 30, and 19 times 6 is 114. And I know that 6 times 5 is 30, and 17 times 5 is 85. So now I can subtract. I will have my denominator of 30, and 114 minus 85 is 29. And that is a final answer. We cannot simplify that any further. We can go ahead and box that answer. So this should be a 5. Looks like we have a little error here. That should be a 5. So we have 4 and 5/8 minus 1 and 2/5. So improper fractions, that's the first step. 8 times 4 is 32, plus that numerator 5 is 37 over 8, minus 5 times 1 is 5, plus that numerator of 2 is 7/5. So we need a least common multiple of 5 and 8. And factors of 8 are 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. When I get to 40, that's also a multiple of 5. So that will be our new denominator. So got a large denominator we're working with, a large number. So 8 times 5 is 40. 37 times 5 is 185. 5 times 8 is 40, and 7 times 8 is 56. So we have a 185 over 40 minus 56 over 40. 185 minus 56 is 129. Now let's simplify this answer to a mixed number. So we'll take 129, we'll divide that by 40. I know that 40 times 3 is 120. So that would give me a final answer of 3 9/40. And number 6, I have 5 over 6 plus, we're adding to this one, 4 7/8. So 8, we have to make improper fractions first. 8 times 4 is 32, plus 7, that would be 39/8. So we have 5 over 6 plus 39 over 8. Now we need at least common multiple of 6 and 8. If we look at the 8 times table, we have 8, 16, 24, and 24 is also a multiple of 6. So we'll be working with a denominator of 24. So 6 times 4 is 24. 5 times 4 is 20. 8 times 3 is 24. 39 times 3 is 117. So with our denominator of 24, we simply add 20 plus 17, which equals 137. That is an improper fraction, so we're going to go ahead and divide 137 by 24. 24 is almost 25, and so I can do a pretty good estimate that 5 times 24 will work for us. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 2 is 10. Carry the 2. So that gives us 120 with 17/24 left over. So our final answer, 5 17 over 24. So that's our addition and subtraction. So let's review some multiplication and division. So at the multiplication and division, we have number 7, a multiplication problem. 4 1/8 times a negative 2 1/3. And we need to remember our multiplication and division rules. When we multiply a positive by a positive or a negative by a negative, we will get a negative. And the same with division. If we divide a positive by a positive or a negative by a negative, we will get a positive. But when we have mixed signs, when we divide or multiply a positive and a negative, we will have a negative answer. So first we need to make improper fractions. So we'll multiply 8 times 4 is 32 plus the numerator of 1. That would be 33 over 8 times a negative 3 times 2 is 6 plus that numerator of 1 is 7. So that would be 7/3. Now the next step we do with multiplication and division, not with addition and subtraction, but with multiplication and division, we look at the diagonals and we see if we can divide, sort of like cross dividing. And if they have a common factor, then we go ahead and divide by that common factor. And this helps us to make our numbers smaller and enables us to multiply a little more easily. So I see that 33 and 3 are both multiples of 3. So 33 divided by 3 is 11, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So now I just multiply across. 11 times 7 times negative 7, is negative 77. And 8 times 1 is 8. And here I have an improper fraction. So I'm going to divide 77 by 8. And I know that 9 times 8 is 72. And that would leave 5/8 left over. So my final answer is negative 9 5/8. Number 8, I have 2/7 divided by 4/3. So let's remember to When we divide, we keep the first fraction, 2/7. We change that division to multiplication, and we invert the second fraction so that in this case we'll have 3/4. The next thing we do is we look to see if we can simplify the diagonals, and I see that 2 and 4 are both multiples of 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So now I multiply these new numbers. 1 times 3 is 3, and 7 times 2 is 14. And that is our final answer, 3/14. So for number 9, I have a negative 1 1/10 divided by negative 11/10. Wait till you see what happens when we do this one. So first we're going to convert this to 1 1/10 to an improper fraction. So it would be negative 10 times 1 is 10, plus that numerator of 1 is 11/10. We'll change the division to multiplication, and we will invert the second fraction to 10/11. And look what's happened when we've done that. We can simplify. We can divide 11 by 11 and get 1. We can divide 10 by 10 and 10 by 10 and get 1. And we multiply across, a negative times a negative is positive. So 1 times 1 is 1 in the numerator, 1 times 1 is 1 in the denominator, and 1/1 equal 1. So the answer to that problem is 1. So let's go on to number 10, 11, and 12. So number 10, we have negative 2 5/9 times 1 1/8. So I don't like when they put the X. I prefer to use the dot. But first we'll convert to improper fractions. 9 times 2 is 18 plus 5. That would be negative 23/9 times 8 times 1 is 8 plus the numerator, one more, is 9. So that would be, this becomes 9/8. So we'll just write that down here. However, when we look at that, we see we have an opportunity to simplify this. We can divide these diagonal 9s by 9, and they will each equal 1. So now when we multiply across, we have this negative 23 times 1 is negative 23. 1 times 8 is 8. And we will divide 23 by 8. And I know that 8 times 2 is 16, which would give me 7/8 left over for a final answer of negative 2 7/8. I hope you're trying these on your own before you move on. And if you're watching the video as a class, maybe you can request to have it paused so you try these on your own. So number 11, we have 2 divided by 3 4/9. We can think of the 2 as 2/1 divided by, and we'll make it improper fractions. So that would be 9 times 3 is 27, plus the 4 in the numerator would give me 31/9. So when we rewrite this, we keep the first fraction, we change the division to multiplication, and we will invert that second fraction. Now, there are no opportunities to cross divide and simplify. We don't have any common factors between the 2 and the 31, and the 1 and the 9 already has a 1 in the denominator. So there's nothing really we can do there to make that any simpler. So we're going to go ahead and multiply straight across. 2 times 9 is 18, and 31 times 1 is 31. And we cannot simplify that answer any further. We are finished. So now we're on to number 12. We have negative 3 5/9 times 1/6. So as usual, we'll make an improper fraction. 9 times 3 is 27, plus that 5 is 32/9, and that's a negative number. times, and we will invert 1 over 6 to 6 over 1. Now we can simplify this a bit and make our work a little bit easier because the 6 and the 9 are both divisible by 3. So that's what we'll do. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So if we multiply across, we have negative 32 times 2. Oh, you know what? I made a mistake. I saw it as division. I should not have done that. It's multiplication. I'm sorry, let's go back. This should be a 1 over 6. Okay, we are going to simplify this. Let's get yet a third color. We're going to divide the 32 and the 6 by 2. So the 9 will still be a 9. For a minute there, I thought we were dividing. Okay, so 6 divided by 2 is 3. And 32 divided by 2 is 16. So now we multiply across. 16 times 1 is 16, and that's a negative times a positive, so it's negative. And 9 times 3 is 27. And that cannot be simplified, so that's our final answer. And I hope you caught that error before I did, because you are very capable. So now we have some word problems, so let's work on those. I think we can get those done. We have Nick, who is scuba diving at negative 32.5 feet. If he descends an additional 8 3/5 feet, what is his location? So this is an addition problem. This is negative 32.5 minus 8 3/5. And we'll convert those to improper fractions. 32 times 2 is 64, plus the numerator is 65. So that's negative 65 over 2. And 5 times 8 is 40, plus the numerator. So that would be minus 43/5. So we can think of it as adding them together and making them both negative because he's descending, he's going below the water. So now we have to convert them to a common denominator. So we have a 2 and a 5, and I know that the least common multiple of 2 and 5 is 10. So our negative 65 over 2, we can convert that to 2 times 5 is 10. 65 times 5 is negative 325. We know that. Let's take that 43 over 5. Okay, we know that 5 times 2 is 10. 43 times 2 is 86. So now we have a denominator of 10, and we just have to add the 325 and the 86 and give them the negative sign, which would give us negative 411 over 10. Well, if we want to convert that to feet in a way that is not an improper fraction, we're going to take that negative 411 and divide it by 10, which would be 41 is 410 with 1 left over. So that would be a negative, Nick descended, negative 41 and 1/10. And always put your unit of measure, feet. Now Melanie is cutting a 6 1/2 inch piece of yarn from a string that is 15 3/4 inches long. How much yarn will be left? So she started out with 15 3/4 inches, that's her string, and then she cut some off. She cut off 6 1/2 inches. So we need to know how much is left. So this is a subtraction problem, 15 3/4 minus 6 1/2. So we'll convert to to improper fractions and then to fourths. So 15 times 4 is 60 plus 3 is 63 over 4. And for the second fraction, 6 times 2 is 12, plus the numerator of 1 is 13 over 2. So we can work with the fourths. So let's just rewrite the second fraction. So our first fraction is 63 over 4 minus, so 2 times 2 is 4, 13 times 2 is 26. So 63 over 4 minus 26 over 4 equals 63 minus 26 is 37. And if we take our 37 and we divide it by 4, we know that 9 times 4 is 36. So that would be a final answer of 9 and 1/4 inches of yarn left. Well, let's do the next group of 2. So Caroline's baby sister sleeps 5/8 of the day. How many hours does she sleep? For this, you need to know that there are 24 hours in one day. So she sleeps 5/8 of that. So we're going to take 24, put it over 1, and multiply it times 5/8. Now let's look and see if we can simplify this at all. I see 8 and 24 are both divisible by 8. So 8 divided by 8 is 1. 24 divided by 8 is 3. So now I just multiply across. 5 times 3 is 15. 1 times 1 is 1. 15 over 1 equals 15. That means this baby, this tired baby, sleeps 15 hours a day. That is one tired baby. Now we've got the chocolate chip cookies here. Yum, yum. Lucy bought 2 3/4 batches of cookies to share with her coworkers. By the end of the day, 5/6 of them had been eaten. How many of the cookies are left? So this is a multiplication problem. 2 3/4 times 5 over 6. First, we will convert 2 3/4 to an improper fraction. 4 times 2 is 8, plus the numerator of 3 is 11. So that would be 11/4 times 5 over 6. And that would equal, we can't simplify anything, so that's going to give us 55 over 24. And that simplifies, so we have 55, and we divide by 24. 24 times 2 is 48. And that would have a remainder of 7/24. So that would be 2 7/24 are had been eaten. Now, the question is, how many are left? So we've got a lot more work to do. We have to take how many are left, 2 7/24, and subtract it from 2 3/4. So 2 3/4 minus 2 7/24. We will rewrite these as improper fractions. 4 times 2 is 8, plus the numerator of 3 is 11 over 4, minus 24 times 2 is 48, and 7 more, that's 55 over 24. Let's use common denominator of 24th, so 11 over 4. 4 times 6 is 24. 11 times 6 is 66, minus our 55 over 24, which would give us, we have a denominator of 24, 66 minus 55, 11/24 of a batch, because that's the unit of measure that they gave us, batches. 11/24 of a batch left. Okay, let's see what we have next. Looks like we have, I guess, 4 more problems. We've got a birdhouse, and then we've got a square. So the birdhouse problem first, Josiah, and if you can't read a name, you can always just say J. Josiah is building a birdhouse and has a piece of wood that is 18 feet long. He needs 1 7/8 foot pieces. How many smaller pieces can he cut? So he has this long board that is 18 feet. And the question is, how many pieces, we don't know, okay, of 1 7/8 feet can he get out of this board? So this is a division problem. We'll start with 18 divided by 1 7/8. So the first thing to do is make an improper fraction out of that 1 7/8. And we can put a 1 under that 18. So 18 over 1 divided by 8 times 1 is 8, and 7 more is 15/8. So now we're going to use our strategy where we keep the first fraction, we change the division to multiplication, and we invert the second fraction. And then we look to see if there's any place that we can simplify this by dividing on the diagonal. I know that 15 and 18 are both divisible by 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 18 divided by 3 is 6. So I can rewrite this again as 6 over 1 times, and I have to, I did invert, so this will give me 8 over 5. And when I multiply across, 6 times 8 is 48. 5 times 1 is 5. So let's divide 48 by 5 so we can convert to a mixed number. And I know that 5 times 9 is 45 with 3/5 left over. So I can get 9 3/5 pieces. Now, this is a tricky problem. How many smaller pieces can he cut? He can cut 9 pieces that are the full length that he needs. So it's really 9 full pieces. Because the 3/5 of a piece, he can't use that. He needs the full length of 1 7/8 feet. So let's look at number 18. A square has a side length of 5 1/4 inches. What is the area of the square? So if we think of the square, each side is 5 1/4 inches. And that's the symbol for inches right there. So we're going to find the area, we multiply 2 sides in this case. So this will be 5 1/4 times 5 1/4. So we're going to convert those to improper fractions. 5 times 4 is 20, plus the numerator of 1 would be 21/4. So it's 21 over 4 times 21 over 4. And we multiply across. 21 times 21 is 441. 4 times 4 is 16. When we divide 441 by 16, let's see, 16 times 2 is 32. 32. That would give me 12 left over. And 7 times 16, it's 42, 7, 11, and 21 minus 12 is 9. So that would be 27 and 9/16. And these are square inches, so we can write inches square. That's how we write that. It looks like we're at the last 2 problems. And look, this one is about running, and then we have one about making some music, playing the piano. So, can Kevin and Justin wanted to see who could run the furthest in 10 minutes. Kevin ran 1 5/6 miles and Justin ran 1 2/5 miles. How much further did Kevin run? So they told us Kevin ran further. So this is a subtraction problem. So it would be 1 5/6 minus 1 2/5. Our first job is to convert to improper fractions. 6 times 1 is 6, plus the numerator of 5 is 11/6, minus 5 times 1 is 5, plus the numerator of 2 is 7/5. Now we need an LCM, a least common multiple, of 6 and 5. So multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. So let's go with 30. So that would be 6 times 5 is 30, 11 times 5 is 55, 5 times 6 is 30, 7 times 6 is 42. So 55 minus 42 is 13 thirtieths of a mile. So Kevin ran 13 thirtieths of a mile faster. And finally, Melissa, who's practicing the piano for 5/6 of an hour on Monday and 8/9 of an hour on Tuesday. How many more? That's always the subtraction problem. How many more minutes did she practice on Tuesday compared to Monday? So Tuesday was greater than Monday, so that would be 8/9 minus 5/6. And we need a common denominator, and we know that 18 is a multiple of 6 and 9. So if 9 times 2 is 18, 8 times 2 is 16. And if 6 times 3 is 18, 5 times 3 is 15. So we have a denominator of 18 and 16 minus 15 is 1/18 of an hour. That's how much more she practiced on Tuesday. So that's it for today. Please make sure that you check around before you leave, that you return everything, pack your things, make sure you take everything with you. And I want you to go on and have a wonderful day. Remember, keep practicing and you'll be great.